Every year, Unity churches all over the world come together for 24 hours to collectively pray and uplift the consciousness of the entire world. Unity's World Day of Prayer will begin Wednesday, September 8th, and end Thursday, September 9th. So please mark your calendars. Join the Unity of the Triangle's beautiful opening ceremony, followed by a 24-hour prayer vigil being held both in our sanctuary and virtually. For further details and to submit the first names of those you wish to hold in prayer, go to the World Day of Prayer website blog and click on the link. No matter what is happening in the world or in our lives on a spiritual level, we know all is well with our soul. The world needs our light and our prayers, so please join us.
Welcome to Unity. Today is a beautiful day again as we do a service. And this service will be dedicated to overcoming obstacles.
The Unity philosophy, it's really a practical philosophy that offers tools that can come really handy when facing life and its obstacles. And today we're going to have a dialogue to see what it unfolds that can really bring insight into your own experience.
So we'll begin, as we usually do with music. So Tim and Jay, the stage is yours.
What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. I wanna get by with a little help from my friends. Ooh, I gotta try with a little help from my friends. Wanna get high with a little help from my friends. Hold on to my friends. What do I do when my love is away? Does it worry me to be alone? How do I feel at the end of the day? Am I sad 'cause I'm all on my own? Get by with a little help from my friends. I keep on trying with a little help from my friends. Ooh, just might cry with a little help from my friends. I'm gonna hold on to my friends. Ooh, 'cause it needs somebody to love. Yeah, somebody. Oh, I needed someone
Unity churches all over the world will be celebrating World Day of Prayer on September 8 and 9. Go to our website, unitytriangle.org, to sign up for the prayer vigil for one slot, either in the sanctuary or on Zoom at home. We will also have sign-ups in the lobby for the next couple of weeks. So we hope to see you there, and our opening ceremony, which is always beautiful, will be also that Wednesday night. Now let's pray over the names in the prayer box. We anchor into the inner sanctum of our hearts, and we allow grace to gently lead us into the calm, peaceful spaciousness of spirit and all that is. From the sanctuary of our giving hearts, we give the gift of prayer to every name in this prayer box and all those who have no one to hold them in prayer. We give from our indwelling Christ consciousness, knowing our giving is magnifying God's good. We give our love so all are comforted. We give our peace so all are strengthened. We give our joy so all may live life more fully. And we surrender to the divine will so we remain open and receptive to the power of God's grace and God's blessings. We hold this truth for our spiritual community as well as the names in this prayer box, knowing the divine works in and through each of us in ways beyond our knowing or understanding. It is through serving the divine that we serve each other and become beacons of light to the world, for all may live life with abundance and joy. With grateful hearts for these truths and these intentions, we rest in a state of expectancy, ready to give and to receive. And so we let it be. Amen.
Won't you pray with me? Love is all I need. Peace and unity. Sing and pray with me. Won't you pray with me? Love is all I need. Peace and love and unity. Sing and pray with me.
Part of our service is always to meditate together as a way to take all of this information into an inner space in which our transformation can happen. We are reminded that what we're working on here is truly the transformation of our consciousness. The more it opens, the more we can flow with life, and the more good we can bring into our experience. So take a moment to relax your body and take a deep inhalation and exhalation. Close your eyes. And become aware of your connection to the One Presence. Not only to the One Presence, but to the presence of those who are right now meditating together, or the people who at some point will listen to this meditation again. We all join in as one. As you deepen into this silence, you realize that the source of your true power, it's internal. That the more you realize this, the more you become in tune with this, the solid the rock you're standing in will become. So inhale and exhale to feel the solidity that comes from knowing that not even for a second are you separate or away from the presence. That presence always it's looking to express itself in you and as you, as greater wisdom, greater strength, greater power, greater harmony, greater abundance, greater joy. So we get all of our human thinking to create space for this divine flow as love, as faith, again as power, to allow you to stay firm in looking at every aspect of your life, even those that seem difficult and challenging, from the perspective of the divine. Just look around and say, obstacles, you are my friend. I embrace you, I honor you, and I allow the good in store for me in you to show up and bless me and bless others. Just feel it. Just let it be. Just flow. Allow. Trust. And be grateful. Be grateful for the unlimited abundance of good in potential for you. Right here, right now, and always. For this opportunity to remember, to affirm, and to know at a deeper level. We say, thank you, God. Thank you. Amen.
So today we're talking about obstacles and really about how to overcome them, the beauty of obstacles and how they can work for us as well as feel like a difficulty. So Anna, you and I have had a conversation prior to this, and as we were doing so, I realized that you had faced many obstacles in your life and so are kind of a live-in expert on it.
Don't we all know some?
Don't we all? I think, as it turns out, we all have. If you really think about it, everybody has faced obstacles. We were born almost unable to walk or speak or hardly make any sense of this world at all. And so the whole experience must have felt like, to some degree, an obstacle. Learning to crawl, learning to walk, and then finally learning to run, etc. They were challenges that we met. And as we met them, we became more skillful. And as we became more skillful, we could meet the things that seemed like obstacles before we just stepped right over. So one way to think about an obstacle is it is a way of training us to be more skillful. Another way to think about an obstacle is that really it's part of the impermanence of all nature. Everything in nature is impermanent, meaning it changes all the time. And so while it appears to be a problem today, there are two ways it could be impermanent. One is that it just might disappear for whatever reason. Let's say the economy changes or your height changes and now it's easier for you to dunk a basketball. Whatever it is, all that could change. Things do change, and especially the way we can perceive things can change. And when we change our perception, then we change what we label something. So what had been an obstacle becomes part of the challenge. I was watching the Olympics, and there were the 400-meter hurdles. They set a world record, and the woman who set the world record was running with either leg jumping over the what do you call those things? The hurdles. Over the hurdles. She could go over it with her right leg first or her left leg first. And because she could do that, she could run faster in between, not worrying about keeping her steps to a certain number. So what she had been a problem for her became an asset when she learned how to do it, and she became the world champion and the world record holder. So we use obstacles, hurdles, to make us more skillful. And I think that's universal. That's not even spiritual. That's just the way it is. That every single person on the path or not on the path could see that there have been times in their lives when those things which were a problem for them made them stronger, or blocked them from doing the wrong thing a minor thing so that they could go do a major thing, or force them to grow in a certain way so that they could overcome that obstacle and others like that in the future. I'm sure many of those people like Jeff Bezos, who is one time money was a problem, can see today that money is never a problem for him because he has learned the skills to overcome those obstacles.
And so as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking there's like a double effect on our capacity to overcome obstacles. And one is that, yeah, it makes us more resilient and wiser and all of that to cope with whatever we're facing, and we become great problem solvers. But it's really a trigger to our spiritual growth.
I couldn't agree with you more.
And if we were in a planet that would be smooth and non-changing, there would be no evolution.
None.
So it's just part of this human dynamic, earthly dynamic. So whether how we interpret them and how willing we are to learn from them will be key in our present moment to deal with whatever we're facing and then moving forward. So
yes, I mean, when was I know for many people who are in unity, most people did not grow up in unity, so they came to unity when they were suffering,
Yes.
when they were facing a painful experience, and they went, I've got to find a solution, and the solution may, at least in part, if not absolutely is, a spiritual solution. And that's what brought them to unity and brings them, brings us, those of us who are on the path, repeatedly deeper in the path, because that something is saying, not enough yet, more, deeper.
There's a saying from a unity minister in Puerto Rico who's now retired and in her late moments of her life. She will always say that men's challenges or men's adversities are are God opportunities. So each time we find or we face a challenge, it's really the opportunity of God to be more real and present in our own lives.
Right. Yeah, I believe, Anna, as we were talking, you were telling me about your time at Agnes Scott in college and about what got you to meditate. Do you want to briefly tell us that story?
Yeah. So when I went to college back in the 80s, and I was looking forward to getting a degree from the American University. And my freshman year was really tough because I was used to making great grades, and my grades were awful. I remember getting a D in psychology, a C+ in English, and my self-esteem was like the bottom. And I called my mom up and I said, I'm not gonna stay here. I'm gonna go to the University of Puerto Rico and finish up there. And she says, okay, I can find out for you. She called me back saying, fine, you get to transfer, but they will not accept any of the credits you have accumulated that freshman year. And I said, never mind, I'll stick to this. Then I noticed that during that freshman year and even into my sophomore year, I just could not find myself, this sense of stability. I was not adapted. I had not adapted to that college life. Kept calling my dad for comfort and support. You know, my dad has always been a big presence in my life. And he would cheer me up and give me the positive thinking. Every adversity has a seed of a greater benefit. Stick to it, Anna, and so on. And I would get some comfort, but I would keep going. And one day he said to me, are you meditating, Anna? Remember, I was 20 at the time. And I said, no, I don't know how, Dad. And he says, well, you better find out. And he hung up. And I, shortly after, I'm in the library and...
Did you do this?
Oh, bendito. Yeah, probably so. I was like, how rude. But he did a favor. He did me a favor. And this is where I found out about the Transcendental Meditation course. And I enrolled into this course. And this is really when I started adapting to the new world, because I realized that my thinking was driving me crazy. I needed to find a way to allow those thoughts to be, but not be engaged with them. So facing that challenge in adaptation really got me, I would say that it's what really got me into the spiritual path, Neusom.
I dare say that most people who are on the spiritual path got there through some suffering.
Yeah.
It seems to be a universal trait of humans, is when things are so smooth, they don't have to go very deep. And when they are difficult, they go deeper. There's this parable in the Bible that Jesus tells about the man who built his house on a foundation based on rock. He dug down, put the foundation down there, and when the winds came and the floods came, it did not harm his house. But the person who put their house on the sand, when the winds and the water came, they were washed away. So one of the things this parable talks about really is this about, usually the test comes and then we dig and that's essentially, so it's a little bit out of sequence. The rains come and the winds go, and so we dig down, or we do become washed away by it. We do feel overwhelmed and like incapable of managing it until we go deeper. And so, the Fillmores basically had 3 spiritual practices they invited us to do, maybe 4 or 5, but let's start with the interior ones. One was to meditate, as Anna was saying, to actually spend time going into the quiet so that we can know beyond the conscious thinking mind, but to go into knowing your depth. And it may be very subtle, but this assurance that comes when we touch into something that goes, this is the part that is not impermanent. This is the real, as it's often called in the East. This is the real. When we touch that, then that which is changing all the time, we recognize it as impermanent, and by extension, not real. It's not real because it's not permanent. And so we can take a lighter look at the very things which are appear to be obstacles. So they have that, the depth of that, going into meditation, into the silence. And then they have affirmations and denials, which condition your mind to see the world and experience the world differently.
As I'm hearing you, going back to that moment, and I know that my incentive was to feel better and cope better and be able to do my college there, and which I did. I ended up graduating. I'm grateful. And I graduated with a meditation practice that came very handy, because when I went back to the island, my graduation was like at June 5th, and June 7th, I was already working in the business until 2010. And it was
a pretty stressful business too.
Yeah. And then that's where I realized the gift of that practice, because I was facing new obstacles. But then I had the practice. And I had been building that rock house that somehow said, okay, now I'm facing new obstacles and challenges, but I can take refuge internally to get inspiration, to get guidance, to feel stronger, to build that awareness. Like, there are times that I play with my mind, you probably do too, where you visualize the problem really small, and then your Christ presence larger, and then you say, all I can do through the Christ that strengthens me. And then that became, I was dealing with new challenges, but those challenges really took me deeper into my practice.
Well, you were telling me one story earlier, and it had to do with Walmart, which is a tough customer anyway. But we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
But if you could just tell how you actually won her over.
Yeah. So the story is that we used to sell watches to Walmart. They had, I believe, like 15, 16 stores at the time. And being a distributor in the island, if you didn't sell to big customers like that, you would be out of business. So we were having a relationship with the account, but like any business, like any relationship, there have been some faults and some roughness dealing with the buyer, and there were circumstances that made the buyer think that they needed to let us go. And I asked for a meeting with the supervisor of this buyer, but I knew that how high the stakes were, and the impact that losing that account could have in the business. So I immediately, okay, this is a new obstacle. I can go within, and I used one of Catherine Ponder's prayer techniques. I don't know if you know about it, but it's great. You write a letter to the person, to the Christ presence, or to the angel of that person. So I wrote a letter the night before, just saying, how wonderful our meeting was going to be. There was going to be communication and harmony, blah, blah. I prayed for 2 hours. Next morning, I go in there, and I can sense the tension. And I look at the desk, and there's a picture of her son. And I mentioned her son, who happened to have special disabilities or special needs, like my son, not necessarily the same ones. And we started bonded as moms. So we started the conversation that led us to a place of harmony. And not only did we end up saving the account, but something that I have meant to accomplish for years, which was to send our sales rep to take direct orders at store level, not directly through the system, which would mean so much more business. She realized that that was the way to go. So not only did I save the account, but managed to get even more business. So, because there's a belief in me, Neusom, that, and hopefully it can become your belief and your belief, that at the same level of challenge, there's a parallel level of blessing waiting for you. And I use my mind like that. Okay, this is big, but what if I just put my attention on this other side? Even if I cannot see it, I can still hold it and wait for it.
Yeah, it's another great example of that, which appears to be our harm can be our help.
Yeah.
It's a little story.
Okay.
I have another little story.
Okay, go for it.
So there's a beautiful little bird that lived in Michigan. This is a Sadhguru story. You know Sadhguru?
Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm.
Sadhguru says this little bird lived in Michigan, and he was having so much fun living there in the summer that he put off flying south for the winter. And so as he was flying south, the sleet came and it froze his wings, and he fell to the ground. Well, a frozen bird on the ground, that's bad, right? Mm-hmm. But it happens to be a cow comes by, and the cow drops a pie on top of the bird by accident, but just happened to do so. But it's warm, and it wakes the bird up, and he starts tweeting how wonderful everything is coming back to life. And a cat hears the bird tweeting and picks away at the dung and finds the little bird and eats it. So the moral of the story is everybody who poops on you isn't necessarily your enemy, and everybody who uncovers you from the poop isn't necessarily your friend. So,
that's true. So
fun
much
story.
Wisdom. Yeah. But I guess that what we need to keep in mind, and it's the first unity principle that says that God is absolute good, omnipotent, and omnipresent. If God is omnipresent and God is good, it means that the good is omnipresent. So even if I cannot see it, even if my level of consciousness just allows me to see something else, I can bring back that principle and say, even though my eyes cannot see the good here, by principle, I know the good is here, and I just affirm that I may open to see it, that I may open to trust, that I may open to get the guidance, to let that good unfold. Was that preachy or what?
Yeah, it's really good. So, so let's just kind of think about this. If you can spend more time in meditation, have more time to actually program your mind to see things differently, which is a great deal of what writing that letter was about, was
Changing the perspective, yeah.
and then connect on the invisible level with your obstacle or your adversary, and bring a sense of heart and love to it. And I really think this is part of the reason Jesus said, love your enemies. It works well for your enemies to be transformed internally, but it also sets the conditions that allow for a healing, I guess is the word, of bringing two parties which are not on the same page into this alignment. And therein lies the possibility. I mean, this is very practical, mundane stuff. It's not. It doesn't. Yeah. It's not exotic. To meet your challenges through prayer and meditation, and to have the faith, which is really just a realization that it's always worked out somewhere.
Yeah.
To believe that it will work out puts us in the condition of taking the chance, like you did with the buyer, to engage as a human being, as a honest person, as a caring person, not from fear, but from something mutual. And that allows many things to happen. Years ago, I was in Chile, and we were doing this first ascent rafting, and we thought it would be a 3-day trip, and it was a 10-day trip. So we packed food for 3 days. Well, it was very difficult, but we made it through there. But I realized one more thing I'd like to add to this is that a phrase came to me during that the fabric of success is woven with many threads. We had 7 people on the trip. Each person had to pull their weight and then some to make it work. We cooperated. The people who could fished, the people who could rowed, people who could carried. It was a really combined effort to make it through this very difficult river. Being part of a community is being a thread in the fabric of success. That you can, when you meet an obstacle and you don't know how to deal with it, often there's someone who can help you. Mm-hmm. And not feeling like you're all alone is one of the benefits of being in spiritual community. Even if they can't do it for you, they can lend you faith when you might not have it. So I invite us to practice all these things, to recognize that that obstacles can be your friend, that they're impermanent, that you can meet them by managing your own mind, that you can go deeper by the pressures of those obstacles. You can be drawn into a deeper place within yourself, and from there you have even more capacity than before. And that really realize that you're not in this alone, but love is part of the success. It's not just for lovers, it's for difficult situations as well. So let's keep in mind that as the world presents us obstacles, we do not have to be stymied by them, but we can meet them like Anna has shown us already, to go deeper and to overcome.
Poet Rumi would say, the good that you are seeking is seeking you always. So of course, when we face a challenge, we can get blinded and see, I don't see the good, but remember that what you're seeking in the midst of whatever situation, the ultimate good is really seeking you. You just need to remember that. Stay open, pray from that awareness, and like Charles Fillmore would say, and expect only the good.
the sun, the clouds and the rain, the wind that sweeps the sky clean and lets the sun shine again. This is the most magnificent life has ever been. Here is heaven and earth and the brilliant sky in between. So blessed is this life, and I am going to celebrate being alive. Yes, blessed is this life, I'm going to celebrate being alive. I let in the light, sleep in the afternoon and become the noise in the night. Trespass and temptation, suffer and sacrifice, but I wake each day with a new sunrise. Oh, blessed is this life, and I am going to celebrate being alive. Yes, and blessed is this life, I'm going to celebrate being alive. Oh.
Anna, I want to thank you for the meditation and also for the brilliant contribution to the conversation we were having. And it reminds me that these obstacles, before we go, we should mention one more, and that is the obstacle of our own thinking. Sometimes our own thinking is the obstacle itself. I'm reminded very clearly about a time in my life when I was reluctant to give love, to give of my time or effort to someone other than myself. I was pretty absorbed with a sense of feeling small. And that was a thought form that I had in my mind that kept me from living larger. So I could have been doing much more, but I was really confined to this thought of who I am, and I was contained by that. And one of the ways that I contained myself was I just wasn't a giving person. To transform that, part of the process, of course, was all the spiritual things we're talking about. We've been doing meditation, affirmations, learning spiritual truths, etc. But a fundamental thing for me was also to learn to give. And that was to give of my time, my talent, and my treasure. And as I began to do that, I moved out of this obstacle that I had been living in. I was inside the bubble of my own personality, my own thought about myself, and I was able to break that bubble and to expand out into the world. If you are feeling that way and you feel like you don't have enough, please consider the possibility that rather than not being enough, you're just not using in a generous way out toward the world. You're not living larger than yourself, even though at first it may feel uncomfortable or actually not even smart. But as you give, you will find that the world will respond back to you. It is the nature of things. And so I want to thank all of those of you who are supporting this church as one of your ways of giving. I know it is also supporting you in feeling an expanded sense of self. So I will say with you our affirmation of abundance. This is true in all things: time, talent, and treasure. Together, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I receive, and all that I give. And so it is. We'll see you next week. And on that week, Anna?
I'll be the speaker next Sunday. We're going to be talking about the power of prayer in preparation for our World Day of Prayer coming up the upcoming week. So we really look forward to continued connection and stay safe, healthy, and see you next week.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as Creator, family all on me. Let us walk with our family in perfect harmony. Let peace sing in with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyful vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.